This video is sponsored by Shadowverse. Yes, Shadowverse is back to sponsor us, and if you missed it last time, it's a free-to-play anime card game for PC and mobile. Since their last sponsorship, I legitimately got hooked for a little while and have been playing it in my free time. Well, the campaign at least, because I tried going online. Fuck, damn it! Oh, for fuck's sake! And I preferred the campaign for some reason. If you're new, you can actually get 50 free card packs from the get-go and then form your strategy around different leader classes to suit your playstyle. Right now, they are even doing a One Punch Man collaboration where you can get Saitama, Genos, and Tatsumaki skins. Click the link below to download it on Steam, or you can also find it on iOS and Android. The One Punch Man collaboration ends on the 20th of June though, so get them while you can. Which leads nicely to what we're talking about today. Hey guys, Hero Association here, back at it again making a 100% accurate tier list. And first we got my boy Genos. He's new, but he's a robot, he's OP as fuck. S tier. And now we got this guy. I don't know what he's done. Probably nothing. C tier. One Punch Man Season 1 was a game changer for me, not just as a series but as a fan who watches and appreciates the medium of anime. Back when it aired in 2013, there wasn't really much of a focus on anime production. Sure, people knew studios, but they were kind of a black box you'd insert money into and out pops an anime. Then One Punch Man exploded onto the scene. Each episode was brimming with godlike animation in a consistent dosage we hardly ever got to see for a weekly TV series. And with the sensational hit that it was, more and more information came out that it wasn't because of an enormous budget it was able to achieve this, but because of the talents behind the staff members who worked on it. Shingo Natsume and his team at Madhouse left their mark. Not only was it a worldwide phenomenon, but it forever reframed the way a lot of us would approach high quality animation. So it's not much of a surprise that much of the discussion around Season 2 has been around its production and animation. From a change in studio to new staff members to rumours of a hellish production cycle, whatever the reason, it's plain to see that the final result has been a wildly inconsistent animation quality that can 1 second be like, yeah, what the hell, this is actually pretty good, and the next can be like, so this is what happens when a stoppable force meets a movable object. I don't think anyone can argue that the animation has been a step down. Whether it's bad is up for debate, but there's already been so much discussion around that, even though it's not the only thing I've noticed that's different from last season. So instead I wanted to shine some light on that, in how One Punch Man's story is developing and the Monster Association saga itself. See, as someone who's gone on to read the manga and then the webcomics, there's a lot I actually prefer from the source material Season 2 is adapting from over what Season 1 adapted. Because aside from the incredible fight scenes, one of the huge appeal of One Punch Man was how well it parodied the superhero genre and shonen battle tropes. And at the point where it ended, it felt like the right place. There was adequate time to explore all the ideas that really needed to be explored, it hadn't overplayed its jokes to the point of staleness, and Saitama had found a villain who he didn't defeat in one punch in an epic showdown that raised the stakes higher than anything that came before it. So where can we really go from there? Anyone who's been following Season 2 or has read ahead in the manga will surely notice one thing we increasingly see less of in One Punch Man. The One Punch Man. Okay. Saitama has gotten considerably less screen time, and it reflects a structural shift as the series addresses the impending problem of, gimmick or not, yes, fights will get boring if they all end in one punch. Saitama serves as both the series' biggest strength and problem. Seeing how nonchalantly he interacts with the super serious world of Hero serves as a lot of the basis to the comedy, but there's only so many different ways you can play it, and I think the original series did a great job in finding vastly different scenarios to keep it fresh, but eventually the novelty was going to wear off. And it's here in Season 2 that the series switches up its Monster of the Week format, where every arc builds up another big baddie for Saitama to comically take down, to essentially one big story arc, and Saitama's had hardly anything to do. Well, he is participating in a tournament arc, but I mean, it's less of a tournament arc and more of a tournament arc. Yay. This season, we see the series slip into something that can be recognized as a more standard format, because even though a lot of these elements started off as a simple parody, One Punch Man's cast and world is a genuinely interesting conglomerate that can stand on its own and deserves to be explored. And that's kind of what happens. We see a lot more focus put on the side characters, more detail is added to the world building, as it shifts to more of a straightforward action show with satirical elements in it. I think of it as somewhat similar to what Shaun of the Dead or Zombieland did with the zombie genre. Sure, they took popular tropes and satirize them, but really they are just standard zombie movies where the characters we are following happen to be really funny. There are so many moving parts ranging from the unequivocally badass to the completely absurd. You've got the various powers and relationships of the S-class heroes, a world of ninjas, samurais, martial artists, mechanical beings, and then there's someone like King, who is basically the antithesis to Saitama, a totally powerless dude who somehow gets by through the intimidation of a Superman reputation he got by complete accident. Which I thought was actually a genius move and remains one of the funniest elements I consistently laugh at in the manga. Also not forgetting the best sister duo you can ask for between Fubuki and her older sister, the 28-year-old Tsundere Tornado Tatsumaki. I believe people like to refer to her as the legal lolly? For legal reasons, we're just going to be using the term petite MILF. Now, this may not sound very different to how side characters were handled in Season 1, but this gets me to by far the best thing about the Monster Association saga, which is Garo. Garo is One Punch Man's take at introducing an anti-hero you empathize with. Here is someone who's a villain not because he's inherently evil, but because he hates heroes. He's someone who's always identified more with the underdog, with monsters typically being the unpopular underdogs that are there to be defeated by the heroes. So he chooses to be that victorious monster himself despite still having his own set of moral codes, and by God, he actually turns into the closest thing this world has to a typical main character. He's not a monster that starts off as the strongest, but he's someone you get to see grow and develop with each battle he takes part in. He gets pushed to the edge, teeters on the verge of death, and somehow finds a way to surpass his limits every time. And as the series progresses, he gets by far the most development out of any character. It's unfortunate this season we won't get to fully see where his character ends up because he encapsulates what I find to be the biggest strength of this series in the new saga. One Punch Man has always done well in building up anticipation. Even though there was absolutely no tension that Saitama would come out victorious, it still managed to build up these monsters to a point where you'd really anticipate what would happen when they meet Saitama. Then you'd feel stupid for being like, oh yeah, it's still One Punch Man. I don't know why I was expecting anything else. But now what's interesting isn't how comically he'll dispatch these new big baddies, but instead is how all these different characters that are being built up will react to him as a plot element. Saitama's role becomes that of the nuclear option, and seeing how these characters change and sometimes find their resolution to their character arcs isn't something that was so focused on before. I would love to talk about how well I thought Garo's character was handled all the way through to the fucking webcomics and his resolution with Saitama, but that's a far off spoiler and I don't want to be that guy, so instead let's take the entire tournament arc as an example, because this subplot is really about Suryu. Suryu is a genius martial artist who has never had to work hard in a day of his life. He is incredibly lazy and carefree, but phenomenally strong. He's selfish, vain, incredibly arrogant, just having one of those smug faces people would definitely submit to r/punchable faces, spoiler alert. Not really giving much respect to anyone because he's never met anyone stronger than him, and like a certain someone, he's bored. Of course he gets easily defeated by Saitama, but that's not really the turning point for him, because after that is when the monsters invade and he puts up a fight. For the first time he gets beaten bloody. The unparalleled confidence he once had is completely destroyed and he finds himself in despair, begging for his life, coming to the realization that even someone as almighty as him needs a hero to save him. So of course, who shows up just in time?
なんだお前は。
ヒーローをやっているものだ。助けを呼ぶ声、聞こえたぜ、水流。
This moment to me in the manga was way more emotionally gratifying than anything the series had tackled previously, and after he sees Saitama's overwhelming strength, he changes his attitude and finds a newfound respect for heroes. It's the resolution of his character arc that is so satisfying, so much so that we don't even get to see Saitama defeat the big monster. He gets taken out completely off screen, which I've seen many people say was anticlimactic, and I'm just here thinking, have you not been watching the same show? It's almost always been anticlimactic, but the focus here was never about Saitama kicking butt, it was Suryu. This kind of sums up the role Saitama plays now. He's more of a side character in his own show, someone who's there to reset the stakes, and honestly I'm all for it, because he serves as just another interesting element that fits into this world, and since he's been used more sparingly, I found that when he does do something, it's much harder hitting, pun intended. That unfortunately is where the compliments end, because all this doesn't detract from the fact that as a fan of the franchise, while it's still okay, Season 2 just just hasn't hit nearly the same marks as the material it's adapting from. Maybe it's the direction, maybe it's the animation, but I can't quite put into words how an anime could give technically a faithful adaptation of the source material presented in the way that they are just animating the panels, and just not leave nearly the same impact in any aspect. As much credit as I give to One for managing to craft a story that thousands can love in spite of his amateur art, Murata managed to elevate it into another level, and the original team managed to use that and push the vision even further beyond. And I don't think it would have been the worldwide sensation it is had it looked like what Season 2 is giving us. As gratifying as it was seeing moments like this, Suryu's battle with Saitama in the manga was an absolute spectacle that I can only imagine how amazing it would look if it was animated by the original team. The source material is still fantastic, which is why even though I'm still enjoying it, Season 2 just feels like a bit of a disappointment. The perception isn't towards how good the show actually is, it's to how good the show could have been. It's never a nice feeling to feel like you've gone through a downgrade.
Disappointed!
It's gone from this legendary production oozing with passion and love to just a bog standard manga adaptation. In stark contrast to its little brother, Mob Psycho 100, and the other title of this generation, Attack on Titan, being the best they've ever been. One Punch Man Season 2 wasn't the sensational return we all wanted it to be, but it's still a half decent show, all things said and done. Does this title need godly animation to be enjoyable? Absolutely not. And there is some irony to be found that there's been so much debate about the aesthetics of a show that found its roots in a webcomic that looks like scribbles on a napkin. But even so, I find it hard recommending this season over the manga, and that's more of a compliment to Murata's art instead. Having reread it for comparison's sake, I've grown a newfound appreciation to just how much of a genius Murata is for being able to put action onto paper. Not even including his chapters that are essentially just animated keyframes, his panels flow so seamlessly that I got a better sense of speed and impact than I did actually looking at it animated here, and with just how much action there is not only this season but also past it, I cannot recommend it more. Because what's always struck me about One Punch Man more than the series itself is the roots that it came from. Reading up about the original author One and how manga was his passion in school but he was too embarrassed to tell anyone, so he'd upload illustrations online using his mobile phone camera of all things, which eventually led into One Punch Man. He only intended it to be a one-shot idea, but he would not only find an unexpected number of people who loved his work and urged him on to continue, but would also by complete chance get noticed by Yusuke Murata, who would want to help him remake it. This would then be adapted into an anime by Shingo Natsume and his team, who deliver a production of legendary status brimming with artistic vision. Not because they had a big budget, but because you could feel the passion burning through every single cut of this show. Like his own protagonist, One was just a manga author for fun, and I think that pure innocent passion had carried on through every iteration of his series. Not to say there isn't passion behind the people working on Season 2, I know there definitely is, but it certainly seems like it's been marred by a hellish production cycle that has hindered what the people working on it could have achieved. And it just feels like anything less than the best for this series is just a bit of a missed opportunity.
First time.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. I seem to have lost my tripod somewhere, so we're going full handheld today. Thank you very much to Shadowverse for sponsoring me again today. If any of what I showed looks of interest to you, then click the link in the description to give it a try. And with that said, thank you very much to Jazz Dion, BDD in your life, Walto, sorry for pronouncing it wrong all this time, Supreme Saiyan, Nicholas Tatum, Sisters 10086, Elifal, and everyone else on my Patreon helping to support me this month. Just another update, I do plan to do another stream of the summer anime seasonal chart at the end of this month. It should be in the last week of the month. I haven't given it a concrete date yet, but I'm hoping that it's going to be on the weekend. No guarantees. If I'm not able to announce the date officially in another video before then keep an eye out on my Twitter, but I'll be streaming it on YouTube, so if you have the bell notification, you should get a notification when I do the stream. I think that's the first ever time I've actually asked people to click on the bell notification. Anyway though, that's it from me. I've been Gigguk, and I'll see you all next time.